Part 22 of the Tao Te Ching. Yield and remain whole. Bend and remain straight. Be low and become filled. Be worn out and become renewed. Have little and receive. Have much and be confused. Therefore the sages hold to the one as an example for the world, without flaunting themselves, and so are seen clearly, without presuming themselves, and so are distinguished, without praising themselves, and so have merit, without boasting about themselves, and so are lasting. Because they do not contend, the world cannot contend with them. What the ancients call the one who yields and remains whole, where they are speaking empty words, sincerely becoming whole and returning to oneself. The Chinese have a saying, take one step back. The ocean is wide, the sky is empty. What it teaches us is that when we yield in a potentially tense situation, we will suddenly feel a sense of wide open space and wide open heart. Some may see yielding as a sign of weakness. Tao cultivators see it as a manifestation of courage and character, amply rewarded by wide open vistas. Being low means being humble. To be filled is to receive abundantly. Just as lowly places tend to be filled with water, so too does a humble person receive an abundance of respect and goodwill. The line highlights an interesting paradox. Sages have no wish to show off or be highly visible in any way. This makes them unique in a world where most people love to draw attention to themselves. Ironically, their uniqueness makes them conspicuous. Like pliant plants, sages bend with the strong winds of contention, blow. Because they do not get contentious or defensive, others cannot contend against them. There is literally nothing to attack. Yielding in the Taoist sense does not mean suppressing the desire to fight. Instead, it means we relinquish the need to be defensive. Our views do not gain validity when we defend them, nor do they lose validity when we choose not to defend them. Therefore, being defensive amounts to nothing more than a tremendous waste of energy. Yielding lets us save this energy to be directed to something more constructive. Any reflection? Number 23. Sparse speech is natural. Thus, strong wind does not last all morning. Sudden rain does not last all day. What makes this so? Heaven and earth? Even heaven and earth cannot make it last. How can humans? Thus, who follow the Tao are with the Tao. Those who follow virtue are with virtue. Those who follow loss are with loss. Those who are with the Tao is also pleased to have them. Those who are with virtue, virtue is also pleased to have them. Those who are with loss, loss is also pleased to have them. Those who do not trust sufficiently, others have no trust in them. Tao cultivators value quality over quantity and prefer fewer words with more meaning over many words with little meaning. Wind and rain, the words of nature, never last for too long. Therefore, measuring our words and saying more with less is an excellent way to emulate nature. We should express ourselves in a concise manner and return to quietude once we have conveyed our meaning. We should also be aware of people who claim to study the Tao and yet speak at great length and platitudes. They have no true understanding of this chapter. These lines are a way to describe the law of cause and effect. The function of the Tao is indifferent and will let us reap with what we sow. Whether it is the Tao, virtue, or loss, we become what we think about. This means that we have the mandate to determine and direct our own thinking. Rather than allowing the mind to wander off in random directions, Tao cultivators impose discipline on themselves. Using fewer words is only the first stage in this discipline. It is followed by quiet introspection, where we consider our purpose in life and the best way to serve that purpose. Once we solidify our thoughts on this matter, our path, Tao, through life will become clear. Reflection. Those who run tiptoes cannot stand. Those who straddle cannot walk. Those who flaunt themselves are not clear. Those who presume themselves are not distinguished. Those who praise themselves have no merit. Those who boast about themselves do not last. Those of the Tao call such things leftover food or tumors. they despise them. Thus, those who possess the Tao do not engage in them. To stand on tiptoes is to raise oneself above others. This is an effective metaphor for arrogance because we know from everyday experience that it is not possible to stand that way for too long. Similarly, an arrogant person's facade of superiority cannot last. To straddle is to strike an exaggerated pose. This represents pomposity, a pretentious display of the ego. Just as we cannot walk while straddling, so too can we not make any progress in life when we are too busy projecting a boastful sense of self-importance. A common fallacy in the philosophical study of the Tao is the idea that because everything is relative and the Tao encompasses all, there are no good or bad things in the Tao. This chapter points out that the true Tao cultivators regard arrogance as useless, harmful, and despicable. Although it is no less part of the Tao than any other human trait, arrogance simply isn't something that can uplift and inspire most of us. Reflection. There is something formlessly created born before heaven and earth, so silent, so ethereal, independent and changeless, circulating and ceaseless. It can be regarded as the mother of the world. I do not know its name. Identifying it, I call it Tao. Forced to describe it, I call it great. Great means passing, passing means receding, receding means returning. Therefore the Tao is great. Heaven is great. Earth is great. The sovereign is also great. There are four greats in the universe, and the sovereign occupies one of them. Humans follow the laws of earth. Earth follows the laws of heaven. Heaven follows the laws of Tao. Tao follows the laws of nature. We say that the Tao was born before heaven and earth because the principles that allow for universal creation are aspects of the Tao. Whether creation is the result of divine will or the interaction of natural forces, it has to follow a certain set of rules. Therefore, the Tao had to exist before anything else. The very fact that we exist is proof that the Tao must also exist. The paragraph you are reading now expresses an idea. That expression would not be possible without grammatical rules. Similarly, our existence is the physical expression written in the universal language of the Tao. Tao is merely a name, really nothing more than a label. Ancient sages readily admitted that they knew little about it, but they could see that its function manifested in circular patterns everywhere. From a spherical raindrop to the majestic sweep of galaxies. The sovereign is a natural leader who is congruent with the Tao. Such leaders can serve as examples for the people at any level of society. The sovereign can also mean you, if you recognize your birthright to have absolute power over your life. As the owner of your destiny, you can direct it in any way you see fit. All you need is the realization and the willingness to aspire to greatness. The cosmos is an orchestrated symphony on many levels. On Earth, human beings follow the laws of the land in which they live. The Earth itself follows the laws of astronomy, the rules that govern the motions of heavenly bodies. The universe as a whole follows the patterns of the Tao at the macroscopic level. Ultimately, the Tao itself follows natural laws which arise from the Tao process, thus underscoring the self-completeness of the Tao. Heaviness is the root of lightness. Quietness is the root is the master of restlessness. Therefore the sages travel the entire day without leaving the heavy supplies. Even though they are luxurious sights, they are composed and transcend the beyond. How can the lords of 10,000 chariots apply themselves lightly to the world? To be light is to lose one's roots. To be restless is to lose one's mastery. Heaviness here refers to the quality of gravitas in human affairs. Although Tao sages possess a gentle sense of humor, they are able to approach a situation with the appropriate degree of seriousness when necessary. This attribute is often associated with deliberation and dignity. Lightness is the opposite, a frivolous disregard for the matter at hand. In this context, it is often associated with restlessness and carelessness. Travel here refers to the journey of life, and the heavy supplies that are the essentials, the most important stuff, the basics. Sages are the ones who traverse through life without ever losing track of the fundamental essence that makes us human. Although there are many tempting sights of luxuries, the illusions of the material world that would distract us from the real goal, the sages remain unmoved. 10,000 chariots is a metaphor for great responsibility. In life, when we encounter great responsibility, whether it's an important project at work or starting a family or anything else, we need to approach it with somber attitude and firm footing. Those who treat lightly will be easily distracted and uprooted by the winds of adversity. It's good today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.